Hey, we're back. I'm glad you stuck with us. Hopefully you enjoyed my time talking to Al Ganikar. He's a great guy. Check him out doing stand-up comedy all over Maine. I'm here with Tucker and Declan. Both have pretty cool names, actually. It's kind of surprising. It's not like Steve and Paul or something like that, or Steve and Joe. Paul and John, yeah. Totally out of left field. So how does a guy get a name Declan? Where does that name come from?
So I actually, do you know who Elvis Costello is?
I do.
So my parents both love him. His real name is Declan McManus. I'm named after him.
Very English, right? Isn't it?
Irish.
Irish.
Declan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Declan. Yeah. And Tucker, I mean, nowadays, unfortunately.
Is it dog name?
Or dog name, or Tucker Carlson from Fox News.
It's true.
With that kind of thing.
He's taken over the SEO.
He's taken over the Tucker name. Yeah. And he's a very right-wing guy.
I'm going to have to come for him.
Right, exactly.
Ironically, though, my name came from a TV show.
Okay.
My dad was obsessed with the show Cheers.
Yes.
And it's like a bar show, and there's a barback in the show named Tucker, and that was my dad's favorite character.
Yeah.
So he named me Tucker.
And I grew up watching Cheers. That's a great show. And Tucker's a great name. And I feel like there's a movie about Tucker, I think, and it was the guy who also created the first Cars.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
You remember that when you guys were younger, right?
So I was given those model cars all the time as a present just because they were the Tucker car.
Tucker car.
That was always my car.
Okay, cool. So what we're talking a little bit about is kind of, where you guys grew up, what it's like to be, younger in the music industry, kind of the pitfalls of it. We've been talking about that before the break. But let's start out talking about, like, you guys both grew up in Scarborough.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I went to high school in Scarborough. I'm from all over, though. I lived in Oregon, Colorado, Virginia, so all over the U.S.
So you said, your parents had a kind of a interesting name for you, and they were fans of the music. Were they kind of gypsy type of folks, like they wanted to move around a lot?
Well,
were
my
they in the
father's
army,
an accountant. So
accountant,
not quite.
Right.
He just gets sick of his job, I think, and then wants to move up and
Same.
leaves.
Yeah. Okay. So he's kind of an accountant, but he's bounced to a lot of companies when you were younger. Okay.
Yeah.
Oregon, you said?
Oregon, yeah.
Okay. And did you find that helped with your stage performance? I've talked to a lot of folks that are performers that a lot of times when you move to a lot of new places, you have to kind of reinvent yourself a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's good for being a stage performer.
Absolutely. I mean, moving around, I think you get a feel for a lot of different vibes of, just different communities and what they're like and how to kind of change yourself to fit that format.
Okay.
And kind of apply yourself to the audience in that sense. Yeah.
And you'd said you got into music fairly early.
Yeah, I picked up the guitar around 13 or 14.
Okay.
I actually failed intro to guitar.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell anyone.
Right. It shows.
But I've been writing music since I was about 15 or 16 though.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you started out doing a lot of original and writing your own stuff. You weren't,
Yeah.
Okay. And what would your style be considered to be? Kind of folk rock, regular hard rock?
So I definitely started in like sort of an indie acoustic space. Right now I have my band The Telegrams, which is like an alt rock, pop punk sort of vibe. And I think that's our first album, but we don't really have plans to stick to any one thing for the long term.
It's
kind
hard
of
to
figure
do
it
nowadays.
out, right?
It is, yeah.
And do you guys have a lot of different people within the band, or that do their own writing and are creating, or is it kind of your focus?
So at the moment, I write most of the stuff, but our bassist, Maddie Sullivan, she also writes some songs, and we're definitely going to have some of her stuff on the album as well.
And so, Tucker, have you collaborated with the Telegrams?
Yeah, we just did a show out in Somerville.
Okay.
We played at the Jungle. It was such a fun show.
Yeah,
it was.
We had a Berkeley College student group open up for us. Then the Telegrams went on, and then the Telegrams joined me to close out the show.
Yep.
It was a wicked fun night of rock and roll. I digged it.
And the name The Telegrams always reminds me of a 70s ska band or something like that,
that's
right?
kind of what we were going for.
Right.
We were like, we looked it up as soon as we thought of it, and we were like, wow, this really isn't taken? Like,
Yeah, it does sound like
I think it would be, yeah.
Like the Specials and things
Exactly.
like that.
I was just playing him the Specials on the way over here.
Right, yeah.
I never heard of them before.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's like a pretty influential band back in the day.
Yes, very much
Pretty
so.
good,
But
too.
Tucker, you are more of a solo guy a lot of the time, right? Because you've produced some of your own stuff before.
Yeah, I'm a little controlling when it comes to the creative process, and just to not bump heads with anybody. I've just written my own stuff for the most part. Me and Declan probably have the most creative collision. Me and him can write stuff pretty quickly together. In fact, we sat down yesterday and just
yesterday.
started writing a new song that will be coming out with this June release. But I try to keep myself solo because I feel like with that I can then branch out and work with anybody. If one day I want to go find a Latin band to work with, go do some salsa. If I want to bring it to a punk rock, I'll go back with the Telegrams and just keeping it fresh. But for me personally, I'm all into the surf rock scene.
Surf rock,
That's what, I feel like I can keep it solo with that.
Wait, and you were doing a little bit of rap when you were younger, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I think a lot of different musicians who branch into different styles of music, they start out with rap. It's influential. A lot of younger people like it. It's kind of a, you don't really need a ton of expensive equipment to really start out with.
Right.
It. Yeah.
That's the big thing. Is that you can do it so much at home on the computer.
On the computer,
Right,
and be creative and things.
Some of the time with rap, a lot of, not going to talk down the art of rapping or writing long poetry like that, but a rapper does not need to know how to produce. And a rapper doesn't need to know music theory and doesn't need to know how to play an instrument. The rapper needs to know words and how he feels and how he can get that across. And that's a lot easier to do, in my opinion, than combining it all into one. So when I just started with the hip hop because I could get my feelings right out there and get that song out.
Right.
And it worked, and it got me a little bit of steam. I put out 8 songs at first. I took off 7 of them, and now we're just down to the one hip hop track, Candy. And I'm now switching over to a more like real instrument feel. Like the past 2 years I've been working in live venues, and I definitely can see a difference when I'm watching a performer that uses a beat versus a performer with the full band behind them. The energy levels are different, and I think that if a rapper went and took the full band, they'd be all that much better. But that's why I made the switch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true in the sense that there's only so much that a pre-programmed beat can do. It can't read the room. It's not that energy. I mean, you guys are much younger than I am, but when I was about your guys' age, it was really that grunge stuff with the Pixies and Nirvana, and the real ups and downs of the songs, and they, you know, and a lot of the screaming and stuff like that. And that's, you know, rap can be interesting in its own way, but that instrumentation is really good. And I think what you're saying is trying to do more solo. Trying to get a band is difficult, as you can attest to, right?
Oh,
I mean, keep all the egos in check.
We've been looking for a lead guitarist for like almost a year now. It's tough.
If I can touch on that point, keeping a band together is tough. Last summer, I put together my first band, hoping to have a band and not be solo. And I got the band together, and just the group aspect of it was good until it wasn't. Everybody is in a different space musically. Everybody wants to do a different thing musically. And sometimes when you're trying to write songs between 4 people, the sonic idea or the original image of the song can get away from you, because now this person is like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we throw XYZ?
Right.
And I found that band members wouldn't put equal effort in, or vice versa, and so we all just kind of drifted apart. And so I'm finding, for me anyway, it's easier to hire somebody or pull a friend in for a show.
To keep your creative vision. A lot of the big, you know, artists, they would just do it all themselves. Lenny Kravitz, Prince, Billy Corgan was kind of doing it all himself, because it's kind of what you're saying. There's too many chefs in the kitchen. Everybody wants to throw their own thing in. I'm a filmmaker. Sometimes you can have that in films, you know, where everybody's, the director of photography wants the shot to be away for his reel or things like that. It's very difficult to get everybody on that complete like-minded page, and it takes a lot. But so what we were talking about also was kind of the perils or just the difficulties of being kind of a young musician in Portland, Maine. You know, I feel like it's a town that is right there in so many different ways, culturally and artistically. You know, I mean, it could be the next Seattle. There's a lot of good music here.
There is,
But yeah, you guys feel like it is also still kind of hard to get into the types of places or to get through the cliques.
Yes.
Yeah, for instance, one of my favorite bars out in Boston is called the Bebop. It's a pretty small bar, but they can hold like 75 people. But during the day, during their slower hours, they'd have do-it-yourself sign-ups. You go online, you see, oh, 4 p.m. next Saturday is open. I can go perform. Sign up for it. You have a gig. In Maine, you won't find anything like that
at all.
Some of the local venues, actually, like 3 of the local venues just sold owners. So the relationships we had with the old owners are gone. Now there's new owners. Of those 3 venues that swapped owners, 2 of them are out-of-state owners. They don't live in state. They don't see the local business. They're only booking national tours. There's a lot in Maine that's being missed. A lot of people that aren't getting a chance to get out there, and it's difficult. And I couldn't tell you why.
I mean, Boston's our go-to because of that. Because it's
I have to turn them down in Boston. There's too many.
Well, because it's interesting because it's probably what you're saying, because I'm not a musician. I mean, I dabble in music, but I'm not somebody that's ever played out, is that because it's like a double-edged sword, because Maine, especially Portland, has become so tourist-based that now all they want, it's like you're saying, is they want people, forget this original stuff, we want Grateful Dead cover bands for older people that are coming in for the summer, or Jimmy Buffett, you know, to play stuff. It's because it becomes very much like another version of, you know, the Hamptons in New York or these other places. And that is too bad. That I know when I was younger, there was some real kind of rough and tumble places where you could really get your start more. But now it's less and less, you guys are saying, that you can just plug in and play at.
I'm a fan of the venues here. I really, really like them. They're really well kept, well run. Other than the fact that it's not really like a good variety of artists. I'm in every single Facebook group for music there is, and I'm seeing the same venues post the same artists every single week. And they don't respond to emails. They don't give you criticism. Like, if you're going to tell me no, why don't you sit there and tell me, hey, your music sucks, or hey, your quality is mid, not ready for my business, or instead they'll leave you on red and then book an act that you know you can sell more than.
And they just don't get back to you.
Right. That's the big
feedback.
We're booking this this tour this spring. I sent out 92 emails, like 92 booking emails to venues from Maine all the way to Florida. I've got one response so far.
So it's definitely a weird scene of how, as younger musicians, because you're your own booking agents, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do to try to get, has anybody given you advice? What do you do? How do you break through the clutter?
There's a lot of different things that I would suggest. The thing that's worked for me the most is in person and staying connected on Facebook. Me and you've been connected for a while on Facebook, and you probably continue to see all the stuff I'm doing, so that keeps putting me up in your mind. Some of these venue owners, I don't know them personally, or they're new owners from out of state. We're not connected on Facebook. They're only looking at the past history of their ticket sales. And when you see a 24-year-old with a 24-year-old band, the first thing you're going to think is professionalism and quality. And as a 24 and younger person, a lot of the times as a musician, especially if we didn't go to school, they're lacking the education on how to present yourself as a professional in the industry with your EPK and your photos and all that. And so the venues will look at somebody who's maybe just lacking in the presentation and just be like, nope. Their presentation's not professional enough for us.
Which is usually because, you know, a lot of times when you're younger, you don't have that kind of money to spend on all that.
Right, like photos, $500.
Yeah, like I think at our last gig, I had my mom come and take videos of us.
right, because you're still, it's the chicken or the egg. And so, but you want to talk about the surf tour. What's it called again?
Yeah, so I just want to surf.
Yeah,
I live in Maine, and it's freaking cold up here all the time. And I came up with this tour, and the song that this tour is based on, it was like a negative 16-degree day we had a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this is it. I'm manifesting some warm weather. Let's go on tour. Let's get some sun.
Now, let me ask you a question to interrupt you. Are you a surfer?
I am. I haven't surfed in so long, actually.
But you're a Maine surfer sitting there with a heavy wetsuit and the whole kit and caboodle. You too?
You won't see me.
Yeah, I learned in Maine, actually.
Yeah.
You won't see me surfing in Maine very often in the winter.
Yeah.
When we lived in North Carolina for a little bit, we would be. I lived on the beach.
And the water is quite a bit warmer.
So much warmer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know. I grew up with people from Maine, Old Orchard, things like that. They would go out there and surf, but
even this time of year, they're out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type.
For that.
Right. It is a different, real different type of mentality, because it's not the easygoing, fun California surfing.
It's cold.
You're freezing. You're out there really roughing it. It's kind of a strange thing to do, because you know it can't be all that much fun.
Right. How much fun are you really having?
I actually trained to be a scuba diver.
Okay.
And I did my training in Maine during COVID.
Oh, wow.
During the winter?
During the winter, and they put me out there in a dry suit and that whole thing. And it's, you know, it's not fun. I mean, even because when you have to change out of it, you're freezing at that moment. it's so that kind of surfing, but you guys are trying to go more up towards warmer places.
You
right?
know, I would love to.
Yeah.
I personally have too many family connections in Maine.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Up until like last year, I've been like nomadic, lived everywhere. I lived in Puerto Rico for a year, lived in North Carolina.
Yeah, okay.
I was all over the place, and my dad passed away last December, and so I've just been staying in Maine, and I'd love to go, but just with all the family, it's just not worth
Puerto
being away
Rico's
from
got to
them,
be
you
a
know?
great place, though, right?
Oh,
a lot
it
of
was
fun,
the
right?
best, and it was
Yeah.
so cheap.
Yeah.
Living down there, well,
That's what I
compared to Maine anyway.
Right.
It was awesome. I'd go back.
And so, once again, and I know pretty soon we'll get to having you guys play a couple of songs.
Yeah.
But were you also with Tucker in Puerto Rico,
So
or you were
I
North
lived
Carolina?
in North
with them?
Carolina the whole time that
Yeah.
he was in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, much warmer than here.
And so, Surf Tour is coming up. You have some new songs, or we still have the
Yeah.
Candy that we could play probably on the way back.
Sure.
And then, but you had a couple things coming up too?
Yeah,
or-
I have a gig at Free Street on 420.
Yep,
believe it or not.
420.
Man, what a good
Okay.
date to
Yeah,
get
I
a
know.
gig. That's a solid.
We're playing
turnout.
with God's Furniture and Manchester by the Sea. It's going to
Okay.
be from 7 to 10 on 420 at Free Street.
Manchester by the Sea is great. They played with
Yeah.
us in Somerville.
Oh, they're fantastic.
They're Berkeley College
They
group.
did a bunch
Berkeley
of
guys.
Fleetwood Mac songs, nailed them.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, what about, just curious again about, is there places where you can play, there's not, even in other towns, they don't do, sign-ups, kind of open mic for singing or
They
things?
do open mics all the time.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
You can't really bring a whole band.
Yeah.
well, you
usually.
can, but I'm solo, right? So I have to pay everybody to come out. And I like, sometimes I don't even pay Declan just because my bassist and my drummer are so expensive. And it's
Yeah.
not fair to him. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's no place to do self-sign-ups, and then me personally, my band won't go with me
Right.
for free.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Declan
try to,
would, but-
we'll try to, we have a little bit more time to plan it. We'll get you in with a band in here to play.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Maybe
Oh,
we'll get the
absolutely. Cool.
telegraphs in here, the telegrams
Telegrams,
in
yep,
here.
telegrams. Close,
Telegram. And have you guys play as well? I mean, we always like to have a
Absolutely.
full band.
It'd be awesome. We could do a little single release party for the two of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be fantastic.
definitely be
That'd
cool.
be fun.
So, one last thing, how do people look you guys up on social media? What's the best way to find you?
So my band is just the Telegrams on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, pretty much anywhere. We're just
Reddit.
the Telegrams.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I guess nobody took that name, so.
Yeah, you lucked out on
Yeah,
it.
we really did.
Did you tell him what Maddie says it means? Maddie liked the name. I'm speaking for her.
No,
I don't know
go
if this
for
is
it,
true,
yeah.
but Maddie was saying that the name the Telegrams is like it's a form of a telegram
form
was
of
a form of communication. So their music is like their form of communication. And
Right, makes sense.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
It's
It
a
is.
throwback type of thing. So telegrams, find them, and then it's Tucker DeCosta on
Yep,
Facebook.
at Tucker DeCosta.
Did you have the same handle on Instagram, or?
I think my handles on different platforms are slightly variated. Like maybe Instagram is Tucker_DeCosta.
Okay.
If you want to check out everything in one space and not have to remember all this, go to TuckerDeCosta.com. And also, while I have you going there, I'm selling exclusive CDs of my song Candy with a bonus track of my new song that you can't hear anywhere else. I was gonna play it tonight, but since it's still on this exclusive CD, I'm not ready to show you guys. You're gonna have to go check out that CD at TuckerDeCosta.com. Hey, that's my song.
But we can play it out with Candy from Tucker DeCosta from about a year ago, maybe or
Yep,
so, right?
a little bit more.
Where he played that with at Gateway Studios,
Yep,
right? Yeah,
yep.
exactly. So we're going to go to a couple commercials now. When we come back, these guys are going to play a couple more songs. They'll play us out. So I want to thank you guys for sticking with us. We'll see you later. Thanks.
Thanks, Luigi.